Most people think freedom means choice, more options, more paths, more doors to walk through. That's the lie, because the most controlled systems in history didn't remove choice. They flooded people with it. You're allowed to choose your job, choose your lifestyle, choose your opinions, choose what to buy, choose what to watch, choose what to believe. And yet, almost everyone ends up in the same place. Same stress, same financial ceiling, same exhaustion, same sense that time is moving faster than progress. That's not coincidence, that's design. Because real control doesn't look like restriction, it looks like freedom with pre-approved outcomes. You're not trapped because you lack options. You're trapped because every option routes you to the same destination, different doors, same room. And once you see this, you can't unsee it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The system doesn't need to stop you. It just needs to shape what success looks like. You're allowed to chase money and as long as you trade time for it. You're allowed to work hard as long as your effort compounds for someone else. You're allowed to dream as long as those dreams stay inside the lanes. This is why people feel confused instead of oppressed, because nothing is technically forbidden. You can try, you can hustle, you can grind, you can level up, but every mainstream path leads to the same math, linear input, linear output, limited upside. That's not freedom, that's permission. And think about how cages actually work. A physical cage uses bars, a psychological cage uses incentives. If you make the floor comfortable enough, most people never look for the exit. The system doesn't say no, it says, sure, but do it this way. Want to make more money, climb the ladder, want flexibility, trade stability, want status, signal compliance, want security, give up control. And here's the genius part. When you fail, the system blames you. You didn't work hard enough. You didn't want it bad enough. You chose wrong. But the outcomes were always bounded. The illusion was infinite choice. The reality was constrained results. This is why people argue about tactics instead of structure. They debate degrees, side hustles, careers, industries, platforms, but they never question the rules of the game itself. They're too busy choosing between approved paths to notice all paths lead back into the same funnel. Debt, dependency, delayed freedom. That's not accidental, that's optimization. Here's a question that makes people uncomfortable. If freedom is real, why do so many successful people still feel trapped? Why does earning more often increase anxiety instead of reducing it? Why does achievement rarely lead to peace? Because freedom isn't about what you earn, it's about what you control. And most people never control the leverage layer. They control tasks, schedules, effort, but they don't control systems. So no matter how much they choose, they're still reacting instead of designing. The system rewards you for staying inside the illusion. It gives you validation, badges, promotions, likes, titles, just enough to keep you engaged, just enough to keep you believing you're moving forward. But real freedom isn't noisy. It doesn't come with applause. It doesn't come with permission. It comes quietly when you step outside the frame. Look at how choice is framed. You can choose what you work on, but not how value compounds. You can choose where you live, but not what inflates faster than your income. You can choose what content to consume, but not what it does to your attention. You can choose who you follow, but not who benefits from your focus. The system never needs to force behavior. It just needs to nudge incentives. And humans follow incentives far more reliably than rules. This is why people defend the system that limits them. Because it never feels like a cage. It feels like a fair game you just haven't won yet. That's the most effective prison ever built. Now here's where the shift happens. Once you understand this, you stop asking, which option should I choose? And you start asking, who designed these options? You stop optimizing effort and start questioning structure. You stop chasing outcomes and start owning inputs that compound. This is the moment most people never reach, because it requires letting go of familiar comfort. And comfort is the system's strongest weapon. Real freedom isn't more choice. It's fewer decisions with asymmetric upside. It's owning leverage instead of renting income. It's building once and benefiting repeatedly. It's controlling distribution instead of begging for permission. It's stepping out of reactive loops and into creator level positioning. That's why this path feels lonely, because the system can't reward what it can't track. And most people would rather be validated than free. Here's the line most people cross too late. They realized they were never choosing between freedom and failure. They were choosing between visible struggle and invisible control. And the system trained them to avoid the invisible, because invisible power doesn't ask for approval. And this is why nothing changes when people wake up. Awareness alone doesn't break the illusion. Structure does. You don't escape by thinking differently. You escape by positioning differently. Different inputs, different leverage, different game. And here's the hardest truth. The system doesn't care if you see it. It only cares if you leave it. Most people won't. They'll argue, rationalize, defend their choices, because walking away means admitting the game was never fair. And that hurts the ego more than staying trapped. But if you're still listening, it's because something already clicked. You don't feel oppressed, you feel managed, you don't feel blocked, you feel guided. And deep down, you know guidance isn't freedom when the destination was chosen for you. So the real question isn't, what should I choose next? It's, what outcomes am I allowed to reach inside the system? And once you ask that honestly, you'll realize something uncomfortable. The highest ceilings aren't inside the game, they're outside of it. That's why leverage feels dangerous. That's why independence feels risky. That's why ownership feels lonely at first. Because you're no longer choosing from menus, you're building the table. The system let you choose, but it never let you decide the outcomes. And the moment you see that, you stop playing fair. Not by breaking rules, but by refusing to play games designed to keep you busy instead of free. If this made you uncomfortable, good. That means you're close, because comfort is how the illusion survives, and clarity is how it collapses. You don't need permission, you don't need approval, you need leverage. And once you have it, choice finally becomes real.